going to call the regular school district of Tomahawk meeting to order. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Colleen, would you do roll call, please?
Yep.
Kaufman?
Here.
Huseby?
Here.
Kissinger-Wolf?
Here.
Kirsch?
Here.
Long?
Here.
Scuba?
Here.
Swente?
Here.
Baloo?
Here.
Zimmerman?
Here.
All present and accounted for. Welcome, Bob and Ann, to the board
Thank you.
for your first official meeting. And we shall move on. We got the declaration of the quorum, adoption of the agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Long so moved.
Baloo, second.
Motion's been made by Long, seconded by Baloo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. On to item 6, public comment. At this time-
May I?
Yes, you may.
I would like to take this time to thank 3 people leaving our district after decades of service. First is Wes Rossler, 28 years in our district, 31 overall. Karen Jarvinson, for 34 years, she's a Tomahawk High School graduate. And the other is Sue Gerber, who started as a volunteer back in '98. She went from a volunteer to a part-time to a full-time. All 3 of those made a definite impact on students in our district. And I just want to say thank you to them.
Okay, I'd like to second that. I worked with all of them. Sue started in my classroom volunteering when I had her oldest son. And I'd like to also congratulate the 3 of them and thank them for their service.
I would also like to thank Dave Long for what he put together for teacher appreciation. Outstanding young man.
We're going to use his talents more often, I think. Okay. Any public comment from the audience? Okay, then we're going to move on to the consent agenda items. Item 7, which is approval of several minutes, A through F, take that back. And the invoices along with the contracts and adjustments. All those were attached to your agenda. Is there any questions or concerns on any of these? Or comments? Then I'm looking for a motion to approve it.
So moved. Kirsch.
In a second.
Second, Swente.
Motion's been made by Kirsch, seconded by Swente. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item 8, staff reports. Flip a coin.
Hi. I would also start by congratulating Sue Gerber in her retirement. She's served the students and fellow staff members with extreme professionalism and support throughout her entire time in the Tomahawk School District and the high school office. And it'll be definitely a different place without her there each morning and throughout the day working with us and the individuals coming in the office no matter what their needs are. So congratulations to her. I would also like to recognize 2 other staff members, Aaron Marvin and Adam Blomberg, for their service to our district. Both of them have been just a fantastic addition to our staff for the years that they served us. The students that they've worked with, their fellow colleagues, I'll have the utmost respect for them. And it'll be very difficult without them here. So we want to wish them well in the future and truly thank them for everything that they've done in the classroom, outside of the classroom, both with students and with their fellow staff members that we missed. As you can see from the board report, like we've said often, high school, it's a busy time here in the spring. A lot of big events going on, and some of them just took a couple to highlight in the board report. One of the things that I often like to revisit is that our music department often takes the time to bring in outside clinicians who will many times be working at the collegiate level to work with our different ensembles and bands throughout the year. And so this year you can see in the month of April, we had Nubia Oshkosh as director of choir come in and work with our students for the day. I had a chance to just very briefly meet with her, but following up with some of the students and obviously Mr. Colburn. It was a fantastic day and really appreciated her presence working with the students and also in time to work for a little bit of review and prep for their up-and-coming solo ensemble performances. So they had a lot of fun with that. As you can see, we had junior prom. Turnout was great. There was a different format where they also had some games involved for the kids, and that was a lot of fun to watch. So there was dancing out in the middle and a lot of different games and things that the students were participating in throughout the evening. A lot of time and planning, obviously, with the class officers as well as the advisors working through that, and then some volunteer teachers also coming in outside of that group to work the games and things like that. But it was a really good evening for our kids, and it was nice to see them there, having a good time. Some other items that you can see. One thing I wanted to highlight was the return of our senior service project this year. So that was something that I think I had mentioned maybe last month or the previous that they were starting to plan. And that's something that the senior class officers take on their shoulders to arrange, organize, reach out to community members to look for different needs within the community, and then obviously their advisors are supporting them in that work. And this year they landed on working with the relocation of the Atomic Thrift Center store and also doing some projects here at school, so they can divide up into 2 groups and help out our building and ground staff with various school improvement types of things that they've been wanting to get to, as well as working with a local business that's also giving back within the community. So I want to congratulate them for revisiting that project and getting that up and running. That was always a great community connection, and we always throughout their time we preach that idea of service, and that's something that we revisit regularly. And this is an opportunity for them to get involved with that, but also it's a gesture of thank you to the community as well for supporting them throughout their time here in Tomahawk Schools. So that'll be as you can see noted, it's here at the end of the month. Also just gave some brief information about the co-curricular awards and scholarship award night and graduation, and then obviously our students of the month that we highlight each month. So as far as any items there, any questions?
May I comment, Ryan, I think your senior service project is outstanding. And I've told you that before, and I hope that continues in the future, because it's a great PR thing, great for the students' responsibility. And I did go back and look at all the years student of the month. Another outstanding job down there.
I'd like to add, Ryan, we also, I'm on the board for Thrift Shop, and we also have 2 of your students, Joseph Jones and Marie Weisnicker, that are working through FCCLA and have been wonderful at helping out and with the move in the building.
Stacey, would you like to follow up?
Ryan normally covers it all, so I don't really have much to say, but I will just say that our assessment season is finally over, thank the Lord. And we had kind of a little bit of a rough with kind of planning with all of the spring sports being delayed, so we kind of had to do a little bit of a flip-flopping of schedules, but it worked out good. And thanks a lot to Julie for helping out with getting all the makeups done, which are done, which is great. I also just want to echo what Ryan said about both our staff members that are leaving, Adam Blomberg and Aaron Marvin, were both involved with Link Crew as well. And it's really good that we have 2 new staff members coming in that just got trained, like I had talked about earlier. So we have Taylor Hudzinski-Pike and Amanda Johnson coming in. So we actually had a crew that would have been able to help, but now with 2 staff members leaving, it's really good too. So they're going to be missed big time. And then the other thing I just wanted to say, before Sue had announced her retirement, we had both our Student of the Month and our Lead Hatchet, our last awards of the year, and we picked our office staff for the Lead Hatchet. So if you didn't see that on social media, all 3 of our office staff were the Lead Hatchets for the month of April and May. So it actually worked out great because it was a great send-off for Sue. So and Jen and Michelle too, we appreciate all of them. But it was a neat thing for her to kind of end it on it. It just worked out good. And then she came in later after we had picked it and said that she was going to be retiring, so it worked out good. But Ryan covers it all, so I don't know if you have anything else to add or to ask me. Okay,
Ryan, I have a favor to ask of you. I think it was back at the February meeting, I'm not sure, it might have been January. There was a presentation from the tech department,
Okay, yep, this evening.
and give me that.
What, this?
Yeah, they gave us each one of these.
February.
I want to let you know that I use that quite frequently over the last 2 months when I'm in my absence, and they do a great job of keeping things cold. I think you should pass that on to them.
I will, that's good customer feedback.
Yes. It's good, thank you.
Thank you.
It does keep things cold. I like this format.
With the elementary, with the elementary report, it's been a busy, and we are getting to that busy time of the year in the elementary. I just included a couple of the main events, but when I looked at the school calendar, we have many field trips that are happening, and it feels good that we're able to allow our students to do that again this year. The other thing I mentioned on the report was summer school. We got a little bit delayed with summer school as I was trying to find staffing, and we did find enough staffing that we can offer in Richmond Summer School. Stacy helped me with the registration information today, so we're going to be able to get that out, the links out to our community, so that in addition to being able to offer swim lessons this year, we'll be able to do summer school in Richmond. So we're looking at doing that the weeks of June 13th through the 24th, the Monday through Friday, a full day program. We think we have some fun things that the students will be able to take part in. At the next meeting, we had some staff decided that they wanted to join us for summer school, so I'll be able to share the teachers that and what they're going to be teaching. I don't have that ready for tonight. It was all kind of came together at the last minute, but we're ready to be able to open the window next week, Monday, and we'll send out the information to our families so that we can do the summer school this summer. So
That's great.
we're pretty happy to be able to do that for the community. So do you have any questions for me?
Guy, how many offerings will you have?
We try to get enough for, and I don't have that with me. We looked at being able to offer enough that we got a range of things. The thing that we struggled with, everybody, the people that first expressed an interest were more than willing to do 3rd through 5th grade. It was a little bit tougher to get the 4K through 2nd grade offerings, but I'll be able to give you more information
Okay,
next meeting.
thank you.
Will we be providing busing?
We're not going to provide busing. There will be a lunch, I believe, provided, but we're not going to provide the transportation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Guy.
Right, try to make this thing not squeak at me like it did Guy. So a couple of things just to report on tonight, a couple additions to what I provided in the written report. We do have, like all schools, a number of career exploration opportunities for kids in this month. Some of ours, May is typically a busy month anyway, but some of ours have been postponed and pushed back due to just different COVID requirements that some of the facilities had and some of the organizations had that we typically attend. So I listed those there for you. We will be having our 6th grade orientation, so our incoming 5th grade students will be coming up in the coming weeks. That's always a fun day. We will be hosting our 5th graders here on site, I believe on the 18th and then around the 25th, and then our 5th graders from St. Mary's will be coming over as well on the 18th, which is the same day they'll be in the building for our children's play that I'm happy that we back this year. And then a web update for our new board members that haven't heard this. Web is a Where Everybody Belongs program. It's something that we run in the middle school. It coincides with Link Crew at the high school. Basically what it is it's an orientation program for all of our incoming students, 5th grade students in the 6th grade, and it pairs them with an 8th grade mentor. And they do back to school orientation on the first day, a number of different activities just to help them get accustomed to the differences in the middle school, and then also at periods throughout the year, they'll link up with their, with their mentors and have different activities. So it gives them an upperclassman in the middle school that acts as a go-to for them and helps them just, arrive on site and get off to a good start. We've had a lot of great success with that program over the year. First year that I was here, 2017, we did not have that program, and it was a shock to me, but we noticed a lot of struggles with our students just getting to classes, having to navigate to those things on their own and not line up, having to navigate the use of a locker and get their combinations memorized, and things like that just you wouldn't realize are very nerve-wracking to a lot of our 6th grade students. So to be able to ease them through that is really helpful. So I'm happy to say we have 25 students signed up for 8th grade students to act as mentors this year. They've been accepted into the program, which is a fairly good number for us. And then lastly, I did link our Hatchet highlights, in that you will see a thank you to Wes Rossler. I want to echo that. 34 years in the district, or 31 years in the district, I believe. A lot of different contributions that he's offered us over the years, especially in the middle school, for the end of his career. And with that, last but certainly not least, we welcome 2 new teachers. So Wes's replacement this year will be Cole Woodall, and then Connor Ahrens will be added to our special education team too. So both brand new teachers. We're excited to have them. Cole has been spending his student teaching in our elementary school this year, so both of them look forward to coaching and taking on different roles outside of just the regular school day, which is always very exciting and very welcomed. And so we're glad to have those guys. So welcome to them as well. Questions?
I have a question about Mr. Rossler. At the end of your paragraph about him, it said, don't forget the Idos or Idos or.
He's got that, so that was, I'm not exactly familiar with what they're referring to, but it's something to do with his 6th grade group, and he's got his I don't know, something with snacks in his class.
It's
So
on his chalkboard, if you want to go
it's
see
kind
it.
of an inside joke that he shares with his team there.
Don, your May report to the board, to me, was fantastic, especially the part about Dawn Hughesby in Mental Health Month. Great information there. Student of the Month, I applaud everything that was put together for that.
Yeah, Dawn does an excellent job. She has a counselor's corner in our newsletter each month. So.
Great stuff.
Wendell, do you know how that, the career fair at Nicolay works?
So it went virtual, like
Yeah.
a lot of things a few years ago. So what they do now is they get bingo cards, basically, and they have to go to different websites for these businesses and view the materials that they have. And as they fill their bingo cards out, then those get submitted, and then Nicolay provides prizes for that. So their role in it is basically just organizing the businesses that are going to participate.
Okay, so businesses are going to are participating. It isn't strictly from the college then?
No.
Okay, good. Good.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Hello. So first thing on Equal Services Special Education Report, we received the Best Universal Grant again from Marshfield Clinic. So we were able to do a social emotional screener on kids. I do have a typo in there. It's supposed to be 4K through 5. We're adjusting it. We found that the best is better suited to our elementary students, and then 6 through 12 we'll be doing the SAVERS assessment. There's a self-reporting aspect to that, so we thought that would be beneficial for the older kids to have that aspect in there as well. So we'll be switching that next year, and that lines up with our Fast Bridge. We have Angie Pliska from CISA 9 that we contract that comes in that does behavioral support, functional behavior assessments, behavior plans, working with some of our more challenging students that aren't identified. And she's been working with teachers all year successfully. I can attest to that. We've had some pretty good successful plans for some kids that were pretty challenging. And she's meeting with, actually tomorrow, with all the grade level teams to go over the best data and identify at each grade level where the highest areas of need are and what the biggest bang for their buck interventions are that they can start implementing in their classrooms to universally meet the needs of the students in their classrooms. So That's good news that we're gonna be able to continue to work on that, and she's knowledgeable about that format so that she can help continue to support our teachers in the classroom. We finished up the alternative assessment, which is for our students with most significant disabilities. Our staffing's going pretty well. As Michael said, we have Connor Aarons joining us. He's done a great job. He started out as a long-term sub in January. And he's getting the hang of the paperwork, which is a huge part of special ed, and he's doing an excellent job for us. And then every year, at the end of the year, we look at current student minutes because the population changes. Some kids get dismissed, some kids come in, so we analyze the minutes for each student and then rearrange services at the end of every year to make sure that we're using our resources and dollars well for those services. So outlined in my report is how we've switched things around and save a significant amount of money in that as well. And then summer work, for people services, there's a whole bunch of different things that we're getting with our PBIS teams. DPI has released a new mental health framework, so we're gonna sit with counselors and go over that and see where we're at in all the areas and how we're supporting kids. Our counseling room, out of our people service office, we have a bunch of, it's full every day with counselors from outside agencies that come in and meet with our students. So we have memorandums of understanding with outside agencies, which is excellent, so our kids are getting the services that they're needing from outside as well. So, any questions? Okay.
Well, thank you, Wendy.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of highlights that I want to go over from teaching and learning. As Stacy mentioned, we have been in full force with our state and district assessments, and I'm happy to report that our state assessments have been completed. So kudos to all of our teachers and students who have worked so hard. As Stacy mentioned, I did makeup tests with several students across the district, and students working so hard and trying to do their absolute best. So really kudos to all of our kids. What we will do then with this data, not only the state data, but the local data here with our district assessments, is just starting to take a deeper dive and really see what areas of growth that we've made this year, and then what particular skills and strategies we need to use to help the students who still may be struggling, whether that's issues related to COVID or just a litany of other reasons that they may be struggling. So we'll continue to look at that. One of the pieces that we are also doing right now is doing some surveys with teachers, and that's a really important piece when we look at data, because we need to see from student performance data and what that tells us, but also from the teacher's lens. So we have two different surveys that we are currently doing. The educator effectiveness one comes from the state, and it helps us understand the systems that we use to evaluate teachers and to really track and help them understand how they grow as teachers. And then we pair that with how our student data looks, and then look for patterns or trends or things that we need to improve on. The other survey, we're going to be starting tomorrow, the different buildings, and it's called the SIR, or the School-Wide Implementation Review. And that just really helps us, again, understand how we're doing in reading and math in terms of classes as a whole class, as a whole grade level, and then in our different intervention groups. So it's really a good piece to have both of those pieces of data to look at. And as always, there's always things that we are adopting and vetting in the world of curriculum. So we're well on our way with social studies, and we've had some really good success with the different resources that the vetting teams have chosen. So we'll start doing the trainings for all of those in the fall, and we'll start it all over again. Questions for me?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I was looking at the different testing, and I noticed that FastBridge assessments for math in middle school and high school, but not for elementary. So do they not have a FastBridge for elementary?
They do actually, but in the elementary, because we use Ready Classroom Math, there's a component of that called iReady,
Right.
which has a diagnostic test that the kids do 3 times throughout the year.
Okay.
So rather than replicate an assessment to take away from instruction, we give the iReady.
Okay.
instead of doing Fast Bridge.
Also, now there's a math component for PALS? I read on your report that said PALS, reading
Yes.
and math.
Mhm.
So we're doing that in
Yes,
pre-K too?
yep, for our 4K. And
Just
then-
for 4K?
Yeah, and then our kindergarten does bridges.
Right,
They do some work with that.
right.
And what we're looking at actually is, I've been working with Angie McPherson and Lori Tracy and the group of interventionists, and looking at how we can streamline assessments all the way from 4K through grades 12. So we can take as minimal time as possible collecting these assessments and this data, because every minute we collect data through assessments, it's time away from instruction. So we have to really balance those things. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you. Do you have anything, Joe?
Yes, I have a few things, and first of all, one of the resignations that you accepted tonight was Julie's as Director of Teaching and Learning. So, Julie, on behalf of the district, I want to thank you for your year of service to the district and wish you the best in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, a few other things. Budget 22-23. We're continuing to prepare that. I think most of the purchase order type things are in and that sort of thing. Obviously tonight we'll be talking about salary increases and that sort of thing. So we'll be able to really, draw it together. It's my understanding the board usually reviews the budget in July, so it'll certainly be prepared by then. And but we've made good progress on it and be ready to go when you normally review it. Just in terms of budget overall and general state revenue and that sort of thing, there has been no revenue cap increase during this biennium, so 2021 to 2023. And what happened was that over that period of time, the legislature did appropriate, funds for public schools, but what they did is a lot of the funds were appropriated went to property tax relief and not directly to school districts. And if they went to school districts, what did go, like out of $625 million, $128 million went to school districts. That is actually spendable money. But when you look at 426 or so districts in the state, and $128 million, and they're all different sizes, of course, it doesn't amount to that much, but instead of going directly to, just general student population, what they've done is they've kind of specialized it. So, some went into the special ed area, some was appropriated for mental health. There were some additional transportation funds and things like that. So it was more categorized. And again, the large portion of it, probably about 3/4 of the appropriation, went to property tax relief. So that's why, districts are struggling. Not the only reason, but obviously inflation and everything. But that's a big reason why, because the state just is not continuing with this commitment that it made over, decades to the Wisconsin public schools. And just kind of an illustration of that is in 2002, the Wisconsin per pupil spending was the 12th highest in the country. And it was 11% above the national average. In 2019, Wisconsin ranks 25th in the country, and its average, it's 4.5% below the national average. So that whole process over basically, almost a decade, 2 decades, has eroded the funding for the public schools, and it shows in the ranking of Wisconsin schools on a national basis. So I just thought I would mention that, kind of gives us a perspective. Another issue that talking to Craig in terms of the busing this year, they've, like a lot of districts, it's not just Tomahawk. In fact, Tomahawk has been fortunate, I guess, to have ample drivers up until this time. But they have come up short now, and he actually ended up combining 2 bus routes. There's one bus route, I believe it's Route 1, that goes up into the Willow area. And when a bus driver retired earlier than thought, he had to combine that route because he didn't have any other drivers with like a route that picked up students in the city. And it's working out fine, but then of course, as a result of that, some students spend more time on the school bus. But it's either, there's no choice at this point because, there just aren't the drivers. And it's affecting some extracurricular routes as well because he told me about I forget if it was this week or last week, put 2 teams on a bus, dropped them off at 2 separate locations, and then when a bus got off of the regular route, sent that bus down to pick up, one group of students that was dropped off, while the other one stayed with the other group and brought them back as well. So some of those combinations are going to have to be made, I guess, for the rest of the year. And I guess what it indicates overall is that there's really a need for bus drivers. So even like if there's any coaches or people that are supervising extracurricular activities now that are interested in getting a CDL that could drive and coach if that's possible. I know that's been done over the years in some places. That would be helpful as well. So we're really going to have to make a push to fill those positions for next year. The last thing I would have is, of course, the end of the year is coming up fast. June 3rd at 1 p.m. is the last day for students. They get off about 2 hours earlier than normal that year, and the last day for teachers is June 6th. So that's only like, 3 weeks away or so. So the end of the year is coming up rapidly, so we'll be ready for it. That's all I would have.
Any questions or comments for Joe? I just have one comment I have one comment. I attended an interagency meeting this morning. I don't know if any of the administrators are familiar with it. There was a report on there, interagency. There's probably 30 different groups that are on there. That was my first time on there. But they had a really good report on, if you get access to that, of a mechanism to find resources for youth and for those in need. It was quite detailed, but it seems like it might be beneficial to hook into that if you have access to those minutes. Okay, moving on to item 9, the financial report.
Okay, just to review quickly, looking at the first page, I believe you have a copy of this. The checking account in the Tomahawk Community Bank, there's currently $351,760. Savings account, $21,442. And the local government pooled investment account, there's $13,346,109. And as we always point out that the reason why that's the largest fund is because that's where the district gets the best investment in terms of interest and that sort of thing. As far as the budget overall this year, I guess in general, revenues are going to be up a little bit and expenditures are going to be down. So that's a good thing overall for the district. And so the district, we do anticipate that the district will have some funds remaining from this school year. And as I pointed out to the finance committee, there's several reasons for that. For example, in one case, attempting to hire a teacher all year in a particular position, and we're not successful, so that position was not filled. Because of the early part of the year, especially as far as COVID, there wasn't as much staff travel, going to different workshops or even activities for students. So there's going to be funds left in that particular account. Equipment-wise, there's going to be some money in that account. And some of this has to do with the fact that, there were a lot of things that were needed, but we held off on them, not knowing what how the referendum was going to turn out. So that's another reason why, you know, there will be some remaining funds. However, you know, that's a very good thing for the school district, because now, depending upon, you know, what the board decides to do, you can, you know, use that money to take care of some of the other critical needs that the district has. And I know we're just recalling some of the things on the list of even maintenance items. Roofing is always a concern. I know there's a need for a boiler, a new boiler. Bleachers in the high school gymnasium that are currently a liability concern that, you know, has been held off on for a while. And so some of those things, you know, depending on what you choose to do, those funds can be used for. So, but overall, I guess, you know, there are going to be funds remaining, and that's a good thing going forward.
The committee also just briefly shared a viewpoint that it would be wise for us to look at spending any excess dollars on projects that have an end to them, rather than looking at projects that have a continuing need out into the future. Capital projects in particular, you know, there's a fixed dollar figure, and that figure ends when that project is put in place. We would not want to repeat perhaps what happened after the last referendum, where the district approved some ongoing expenses, which the district continues to have to deal with in future years, and makes passing another referendum even more important.
Any questions, Joe? Okay. Moving on to item 10. Approve the list of the 2022 graduation candidates based on the completion of the Wisconsin and Tomahawk High School graduation requirements. Looking for a motion. You had the list attached to our agenda.
I so move.
Okay.
Swante?
And a second?
Second, Blue.
Motion's been made by Swante and seconded by Baloo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Item 11, approval of the early graduation list for January 2023. That was also attached to the agenda. Looking for a motion for approval of the list.
I so move. Swante?
Second?
Kirsch. Second.
Motion's been made by Swante, seconded by Kirsch. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. The approval of the food service contract and budget.
Okay, you have a copy of a proposal from TAR. Excuse me. And basically, as you can see, let me get the copy here. If you look at, you know, the first page talks about, you know, reimbursement rates and lunch rates for next year. And basically what they're doing is basing their budget on serving 700 students. Now, next year, the district is going to be, all districts are going to be back to where they were prior to the COVID situation, where students have to pay for lunch. Reimbursement rates are going to be reduced. So the funds aren't going to be coming in like they have been over the last couple of years because of that, basically the increased reimbursement that the federal government provided. So basically it's kind of back to normal now as far as next year. Students are going to have to be paid for lunch. Reimbursement rates are going to go back to where they were like in about the 2020-21 school year. And but this proposal is not proposing any increase in lunches. Basically, the cost of the lunches would be the same as they were during the 1999-2000 school year. So students at the elementary school would be $2.75, secondary would be $3, and then of course the district offers a what they call premium lunch, which would be $3.25. And then for reduced lunches, it would be 40 cents. So there's no proposed increase in student lunch costs for next year. What that means then, combined with the even reduced reimbursements, if you look at the second page, is basically what's being planned for is a balanced budget. Based on this proposal, the revenue is anticipated to be $748,659, and the expenses $748,598. Now there is the fund balance in food service, and funds for food service can only be used for food service. You can't transfer food service funds into Fund 10 and buy a lawnmower or something like that, books or whatever. It has to be used for food service. As a result of this reimbursement this year, or the last 2 years actually, the district is going to have a pretty significant balance in its food service account. But there's also a need for equipment. For example, a dishwasher, I think it was a dishwasher that was just recently replaced, but you know, some of the other equipment in there also needs to be replaced, and this would be a good opportunity for the district, using that fund balance as it is, to replace some of that other equipment. So, you know, based on the change of students now having to, you know, pay for lunches, parents pay for lunches, I think it's a reasonable budget, and would recommend it be approved.
Any questions of Joe on the contract?
Joe, does the district survey students related to the quality of the meals, you know, the type of food they're serving, that sort of thing? Do you have a flavor for the fact that Tower is providing? I know they have guidelines which come to them from the federal government, but do we have a reaction from our students that they're pleased with what, you know, with the food service?
I'm not aware of a survey.
Okay.
I don't know, principals, is there any survey that you're aware of? So I'm not aware of a survey. Yeah, I just.
You know, my view is the meals are very satisfactory. We don't get any complaints about them from the general public. At least we don't get complaints. Perhaps the principals have, but therefore I think the service is adequate and is doing a good job. And I would support, obviously, approving this by making a motion to approve the contract.
Mm-hmm. Did they ever replace Dustin? Do they have a manager?
Okay, the last I heard is that there's a good possibility, but the individual would not start till, you know, like summer or fall.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they got a good lead on someone.
Good, because I think that there was a difference from when Dustin was here and after Dustin left, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Dustin was top notch.
Yep.
I will second the motion that Dick made. Swente?
Okay, motion's been made by Hughesby, seconded by Swente. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion's been carried for the contract. Dick, I would say you probably could find out what kids think about their meals when they empty their trays into the garbage and what foods they like and don't. But a lot of that is mandated that they have to be served a certain amount of vegetables and all that stuff. I had my scouts working on the survey on that, and they enlightened me on a few topics, but that's kids and their tastes. Okay, we have attached item 13, which we have policies, approval of revisions to the policies. I'm going to start with item 13, policies items A through D, 4 policies for review. Those were attached. You should have had some time to review these. There is one policy on there, item 13C, policy 8510 wellness, that it was identified possibly to change that instead of having an individual's name in there, listing it as, or designated by administration, instead of listing an individual name in there. If there's any concern about that, putting that reference down, designated by the district administrator instead of an individual name. If that's okay. Okay, if we're okay to make that change, all those in favor of the 4 policies here, item 13, or I'm looking for a motion for item 13. To accept.
I'll make a motion to approve the revisions in item 13 for policies A, B, C, and D, along with the change to designated by administrator to policy 8510 and removal of the individual name.
I'll second that, Haveman.
Motion's been made by Kirsch, seconded by Haefman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Moving on to item 14, we have the second reading of policy 4120.04, employment of substitutes. It was a new policy, we need the second reading. Looking for a motion to approve it as presented.
Long, so moved.
Second, Baloo.
Motion's been made by Long, seconded by Baloo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. On to item 15, approval of the first reading of the following policies, items A through D. We've got 4 policies on there that were attached to the agenda. Any comments, discussions, concerns on these? There was an explanation that was attached to that had a lot of detail. No comments, questions? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion.
I so move.
Motion's been made by Scuball. Is there a second?
Second, Swente.
Motion by Scuball, seconded by Swente. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to item 16, reorganization of the board. It's that time of the year to reset the clock and get things going again. Annual review, we need to elect officers, so I'm going to start off with the president.
I'll nominate Ron Zimmerman.
Ron, do you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I nominate Kay Kissinger Wolf.
Okay, I would accept that. Any other nominations? Okay, you have slips of paper in front of you. If you would want to do a vote then for that. We've got several of these as we go through the officers. Do you want to collect them, Colleen? Okay. If you want to go ahead and cast your votes, and then Colleen will collect them.
Okay, the candidates are,
Ron Zimmerman and myself. I just cleaned under the agenda.
It's up here. Well, that's okay. That's not in there. I gotta take it off. See this one?
I don't see that. I don't have that in mind. Okay. This is what I have. Do you have a count, Colleen?
Yep.
Okay.
Do I announce the numbers?
Yes.
So there's 1 for Kate Kissinger Wolf, 7 for Ron, and 1 for Deb Baloo.
Okay. Ron, take it from here.
Thank you. Entertain nominations for the vice president position. I would nominate Dave Long.
I'll nominate Kay Kissinger.
Any other nominations? Okay, please cast your vote.
I'm sorry, who were the choices?
Oops.
Dave or Kay?
Who?
Kay. Kay Kissinger Wolf or Dave Long?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, it's 7 for Kay and 2 for Dave.
Okay. And open the nominations for clerk.
I nominate Deb Baloo.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations for clerk? Hearing none. Deb, do you accept?
I do.
I do. Yeah, it's unanimous. Okay. Nominations for treasurer?
I'll nominate Dave Long.
Okay. Nomination is Dave Long for treasurer. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none. Dave, do you accept the position?
I do.
Okay, then by unanimous, Dave is the treasurer. Okay. Congratulations to all.
I'd like to take just 1 second to thank Kay for her leadership on the board the last couple of years. It's been a challenging time, and we appreciate your effort. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Gotta get down to where I'm at here. Okay, dates and times of regular monthly meetings. Has there been any changes or suggested changes?
Yes, so I believe you got a copy. Did you get a copy of this
Yeah, it was attached.
outline? So
It was attached up here before the.
Wendell and I sat down a while back and just talked about the organization of the district and the board and that sort of thing, and how things possibly could be changed. And so what we came up with was this proposal, that instead of the board meeting 2 times a month, the board would meet 1 time per month, unless there's a need for a special meeting. such as expulsion, anything that comes up that's an urgent matter, that sort of thing. And the meeting would be held on the second Tuesday of each month, except for October, when 2 meetings would more than likely be necessary. And in October, our suggestion is that the meetings be held on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. The reason why 2 meetings would be held in October is because the end of October is when the tax levy needs to be approved by the board. So then with the board potentially only meeting basically one time per month, the idea would be to formulate several committees that would do the more, I guess, detailed work of the board. So what we came up with, actually the executive committee was added, but so it would be executive, a policy committee, operations and finance. And basically the operations and finance, would take care of such things as, reviewing the budget, building and grounds type items, transportation related items, food service items, and technology. Basically, the day-to-day operation issues that come up that the board has to deal with in regard to the day-to-day operations of the district. And then a personnel committee, which would basically review contracts, keep the staff handbook up to date and continue to review that, participate in any negotiations that take place, anything that needs to be done related to staffing, such as staff recognition as well. So the idea would be to have 4 committees that again would do the more detailed work of the board. And then bring those recommendations back to the full board for approval if necessary. So that was a proposal there. And then as far as the finance committee, obviously currently the finance committee meets once a month prior to the first meeting of the month. So we met at 5:30 this evening. The proposal here would be that the operations and finance committee would meet quarterly. And of course would not meet prior to the first meeting of the month. And all the board, the finance committee of course, but then all the board members would receive this quarterly report. So it would, it would probably take it would be up to, the board and Wendell, but it would probably take a little bit different format than what you currently receive. But it would possibly also have more detail in it, seeing it would only be done quarterly. And then the other thing would be the list of vouchers that you receive prior to each board meeting. And basically right now you don't receive those until, I don't know, maybe the day of the board meeting, correct? So it really doesn't give the board time to review them. But the reason why it's, sent to you so close to the board meeting is to try and squeeze all the expenditures, as many as possible that are available, so the board can approve those. But this proposal would indicate that the board would receive that list of vouchers on the Friday before the Tuesday board meeting. So if you have questions, whatever, there's time to, contact Sandy, contact the district administrator, and get answers to your questions in terms of those vouchers. And I know Dean and Sandy have talked about creating a Google form where you could type in your question or information, whatever you want to know about the question in regard to a particular voucher or whatever could be answered. All board members would receive a copy of that response, so you would know what that's all about before the board meeting. So that would be set up later, but I guess the basis of it is meet once a month, have 4 committees, get a quarterly report for finance. As far as committees, they can always be expanded. Talking to Kay, I think there were 10 at one time, or something like that.
I've got a list if you want to see what the committees look like. There were some years where we had up to 10 different potential committees that included the regular and the finance. And it was going from one committee to another committee and that type of thing. I think this would be much more efficient, having 3 committees with 3 people on. I think I've talked to everybody on the board about the different committees. And with that, just starting small like that. See how that goes, and eventually, I think Wendell is talking, we've got something else on the agenda here, talking about a restructuring meeting and going with goals and how the committees would function and that type of thing. So.
As far as when, obviously it's up to you when it will start. We've got July 1st on here, but it could start June 1st if you like. I mean, it's up to you.
Any questions about sorry.
That's
Sorry.
all right.
Any questions? I had done.
Go ahead and finish it
that's
up.
with them. Questions about the structure starting off. I know some people had comments about wanting some communicating with the public in there. There's some talk, Wendell and I had discussed about doing community forums, bringing back the strategic plan, things like that. So there is some of that stuff in the works too. But looking at some of these features so we can get in more detail on some of this stuff. We've had a challenging last couple of years of trying to communicate and working on things. And let's start small. I would recommend starting small if you want. My printer printed off 96 copies of this committee report, so I have plenty if you want to see what it looks like. But there were a lot, and it was over the years, over the last 15 years, it's changed, it's fluctuated. So we've gone from a lot down to cow to the regular to now we're coming back full circle. So.
And I guess I can say that, you know, based on my experience, having one meeting a month, coming here, we had 2 meetings a month. As a district administrator, you're always getting ready for a school board meeting, you know? And some of the meetings have lasted, I mean, you know, not very long. So, I mean, the meetings would be a little bit longer, but it gives the administrator, and not just the district administrator, but the office people, principals, whoever, time in between to maybe really concentrate on the other things going on in the district. Otherwise, seems like you're constantly preparing for a school board meeting.
Joe, what did we decide with curriculum? That was not going to be a committee?
We had talked a little bit, I know Dick brought that up about curriculum too, and that might be part of the regular board meeting, but there's certain things that's where it could fit in, just
I
depending.
guess our conversation centered around starting with a few. You can always add, you know, if you think the need is there.
One important thing to mention, this was for the public too, is these committee meetings would be public posted meetings, so just like a regular board meeting, anybody could attend one of these to, you know, see the work the board is doing. We may not have a quorum of board members, but we may, depending on who attends. Anybody could attend.
Depending on the content of the meeting.
Right.
Yeah, I guess my comment is that I think it's a good idea to go to one a month, one board meeting a month. I was actually, when I got on the board, I was surprised that there were two meetings a month. Most of my experience on boards is maximum one meeting a month. So I think that's a good idea. I think it's good to start with the committees being just a small group. The executive, I think, is set. That's pretty much the officers that would be involved. But I don't want to see 10 committees. My God. I can't believe it'd be that much. Holy cow. But, Kay, my understanding is that you have talked to some board members about being a part of these committees?
Yes, I can run down the list. Policy, it was Ann, Deb, and myself. For operations, it was Dick, Dave, and Sherry. And for personnel, it was Shar, Brown, and Bob.
Okay, that's operations and finance together?
Operations and finances, Dick, Dave, and Sherry, and then personnel would be Shar, Dave, or Shar, Ron, and Bob.
Okay. Is everyone willing to accept those positions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. I think we move forward then.
Just a quick comment. Prior to moving to committee of the whole and then to 2 board meetings a month, this board did operate under a committee structure, and it was a very effective structure with committee spokesperson sharing all the information that was necessary for the board to make an informed decision, and the appropriate people who were present at the board meeting for comments from the board as a whole. So I also support moving in this direction. It has been effective in the past.
Okay. Next item is appoint to the ASB delegate.
Do we want a motion?
Do we need a motion to approve this?
I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay.
I so move, Swendy.
Second?
I'll second.
I have a question before we move forward. Do we need to appoint chairs for these committees at this time, or?
I think it should be, My thought is that each committee, when they meet, can appoint a chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay? I have a motion and a second to approve the changes for the regular meeting and going to the committee structure with the committees listed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Joe?
When are you gonna start? July or June, or what do you think?
Let's go June.
Okay.
So we'll tell the second meeting in May.
Yeah. If needed.
Yeah, there may not be enough on the agenda to do a meeting in, a second meeting for May.
Yeah.
The one we talked about.
They can, don't discuss
Yeah.
that. Okay? All right, appoint the WASB delegate. Is that you right now, Deb?
I did not attend last year because of the referendum, and I had to take something off my list. I did the year before.
Okay.
So I regret to inform you of that, but there was a lot going on. Something had to go. I couldn't go to Milwaukee.
When is that, Kay?
It's in January, I think toward the end of January, the
About
state
third week.
WASB state convention.
Third
Yeah.
week.
So,
Anyone interested in that?
I would recommend Deb.
I would recommend that also. We can give you a backup if you need to.
You like reading that still?
well, I do, but
Deb, would you accept it?
I'll do my best to get there.
Okay.
Are you gonna hit
You're it.
What's that about? I hate driving in Milwaukee
Okay.
too.
Okay,
No, it's a
Thanks.
good thing.
okay, thanks, Deb.
Mhm.
And appoint the CISA Border Control Representative. Is that you too, Deb, right now?
It is.
And I would recommend her also to be appointed to that again. She's been doing a great job in making the contact there.
I would accept that. I enjoy the CISA 9 Board of Control meetings. I do. They're good people.
Is anyone else interested?
Can you have more than one, or is it?
Just one.
I do have a 3-year term that expires, I've been sworn in, and it expires in 2023.
Okay.
So this is a formality.
Okay. All right, date for summer school board work session? And what's,
So this is, I don't know, Linda, maybe you wanna get in on this?
Yeah. So the thought is, having me being a new superintendent, having new board members, brought on, that in July might be a good idea to have just a working day or working retreat with the board. There were a number of different things that were brought forward in the new board orientation that we saw with different governance agreements and different things that we noticed probably can use a revisit, and some commitments around board members and how you all feel you'd like to do business moving forward. So those things might be a good a topic to cover during part of that day. Also regrounding ourselves in our strategic plan, as us as an admin team have worked and recently met with Brad Sarin to put ourselves in a position where we can start to roll this out, develop goals in each of the 5 pillars that will be ready beginning next year. So it might just be a good time for us to spend some time regrounding in that process and what that means to our district. And then lastly, just to cover expectations, my goals, your expectations for me, and spend the day kind of going through that process together. So the recommendation I think that was brought up would be to try to do it on the same day as our July board meeting, if that works for everybody, since most folks would be already more than likely in town or not on vacation on that date, but I will leave it to you to decide what date works. So.
what is that date in July?
Tuesday the 12th.
Okay.
Follow me.
Do you know what, are you talking all day? Are you thinking, what kind of hours are you thinking, time frame?
I think, depending on what the board agrees that they want to cover that day, we could easily make a full day out of it, or we could start, a little bit later and work up closer to, sometime where we take a break and then come back to the board meeting. So the hours are flexible. I think there's plenty that we could cover to have a full day. I did talk to Brad Sarin about the possibility of even him coming back to talk a little bit about the strategic plan and next steps, and he would be open to that too, if so long as he's available that day, and it sounded like he was pretty flexible to do that. So full day might be a good idea.
Okay. So I'd ask that everyone check your calendars for July 12th and see if you can attend. If not, let me or Wendell know, and we'll see if we need to make any changes. Okay, but plan on July 12th. Good. Okay, board referrals. Any board referrals?
I just wanted to, I have one with the last CISA 9 Board of Control meeting that might be of interest. Al Betry, who's going to be taking over as the administrator, developed this Excellence in Teaching program, which he's developed into a very successful program. It's in its 9th year. In that time, he has trained 500 substitute teachers. And he's working with the DPI to get licensure for elementary instruction. So they do not have that now, but their program is full for this next course of training. A total of 40 students, and 22 of them are special ed and 18 in general education. And they've got 20 on a waiting list. And he's looking to try to expand that too. So hopefully there's opportunities for us here. So just wanted to let you know that he's been real successful, and I think he'll be successful as an administrator too. Thank you.
Okay, any other board referrals? Okay, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session considering employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation data.
So moved, Hirsch.
Oh, second.
Roll call, please.
Kirsch,
Yes.
Long,
Yeah.
Scuball,
Yes.
Swente,
Yes.
Baloo,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Hughesby,